Mike Johnson, I hope you're having a great day, man. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
That interview, bro. I remember that interview, my man. That was back in the good old days, wasn't it? Man, I didn't have a speck of hair on my face back in those days, man. Now it's a full-blown beard. It's crazy how life comes full circle, doesn't it?
It does. And Marquise, and we were talking about this because we get a chance to cover dreams being fulfilled and come true. We cover the high school to the college game, to the college game to the NFL. Many of these young men grow up wanting to play for the University of Alabama, wanting to play on Sunday afternoon, and to be able to cover that and see the smiles and the natural happiness is a lot of fun. I mean, it's a very enjoyable part of our show.
Yeah, listen, I completely agree with you on that one, and I'm starting to get into that side of it where a lot of these dreams are being made and a lot of that draft stuff is coming down this weekend. And listen, it's quite the experience to go through it firsthand. I got to tell you that much. You go from I was a Pensacola News Journal like super senior, and then the next time I have my picture in the paper, I'm starting offensive lineman. Next time I have my picture in the paper down in Pensacola, I'm getting a ring, and then I'm giving the jersey to President Obama, and then getting drafted. It's crazy, the path that you take at such a young age, man, to really be able to be around that program, to understand the greatness that comes before you and after you, and to live those dreams that so many others are getting to do right now.
Let me ask you about the NFL draft, because you were drafted in third round, the 98th overall pick there early in the third round. What was it like to get that phone call? Where were you at? Can you walk us through that moment?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't an early third-round pick. What's a funny story about it, Ryan? I was actually the last third-round pick, right? So
okay.
They have these, they have these compensatory picks that when your team doesn't sign a restricted free agent or they lose a player off the team, they get a compensatory pick right at the end of the third round. So the Falcons had already picked in the third round. They picked Corey Peters out of Kentucky, who's a guy I knocked heads with a lot in college. And then all of a sudden, my night was coming to an end. The third round was the last round on Friday night. My night was coming to an end, and I thought, I saw the pick that was second to last, and the Falcons were the only ones left on the clock, and I thought, you know what, we'll pack it up. I had some people at my house. I didn't want to party, but I had some family at my house, and I thought, you know what, we'll pack it up and we'll wait till tomorrow, and it's God's plan. He'll I'll go where He wants me to be, and we'll be happy on Saturday getting a draft pick, hopefully early in the morning, hopefully something fourth round. And then my phone's kind of sitting on the thing. I had gone to my room. I was by myself, and my phone's kind of sitting on the windowsill and starts buzzing. And I wasn't sure who was calling me. I looked down, and it was a 770 Atlanta area code. And, man, it took me like 5 seconds to understand what exactly was going on. I answered the phone, and it's a scout from the Falcons. He wants to put me on with Arthur Blank. He wants me to talk to Mike Smith. He wants me to talk to Thomas Dimitroff. And just an incredible experience. I was the last draft pick on a Friday night, and it was poetic. I got actually the first phone call I got when I hung up with them was from John Parker Wilson, who was already a member of the Falcons and one of my good buddies. So everything came full circle. I got to stay in the Southeast. I got to stay close to family, and just couldn't have happened any better than it did.
So what did you do? I mean, did you just sit there in awe? I mean, or did you – I mean, you're packing up the party, and then you realize you've been drafted there in the final pick of the third round, or one of the final picks, as you said. What was your reaction? I mean, did you yell, or did you put the phone on mute and then yell, or what'd you do?
I was kind of one of those guys that just buried my face in my hands for a minute. Like I said, I wasn't around my family, and so I had to kind of signal to the rest of my family, like down the hall, that, hey, listen, I'm actually being drafted right now. Everybody's kind of standing around, putting things away, and I was like waving my hand like, hey, this is actually happening right now. And so they all kind of freaked out. I kind of buried my face in my hands. I hugged my parents. Didn't say a whole lot until my name flashed across the screen. I want to say it was Chris Berman back then in 2010, but name flashes across the screen, and they say, hey, we had the final pick of the third round of the Falcons, Mike Johnson out of Alabama. And so I didn't have much to say. It was an emotional night. I wasn't a yeller and a screamer, but I was definitely happy, that's for sure.
Well, you talk about the public relations. We were talking about it earlier. If Nick Saban happens to go up and say to ESPN or NFL Network, I want to buy the advertising that the University of Alabama, Nick Saban, the program, will be mentioned in the next 4 or 5 days, you could not put a price tag. Alabama, once again, is probably going to have double-digit draft people going, or players going in the NFL draft. There's not a price tag that you can put on what Alabama's going to receive in publicity for the next 4 or 5 days.
Oh, it's a bigger deal than most people even realize, right? I mean, think about this, for instance. Now, I mean, I'm leaving the University of Alabama. You guys know that Pensacola is a hotbed. Down in Mobile, I mean, these are hotbeds for recruits. These are places that you go get, Julio Jones out of Foley and some of the guys you get down out of Mobile and Pensacola and Fort Walton. I'm on the news. I'm in the Pensacola News Journal. I'm wearing national championship rings. I'm being drafted to the Atlanta Falcons. My dreams are coming true. My mom's in tears. And that's just local media. I mean, think about the interviews I did soon thereafter with Atlanta media, becoming a part of that, becoming a part of some winning seasons with the Falcons. I mean, it just continues to pay off it multiplies. I mean, it really does. It's not just ESPN. There is so much coverage out there of guys, like you said, that are being able to achieve their dreams. And, I've seen this hashtag come out from some of the guys that are recruiting now, and they're getting into Twitter. Why not Bama? I mean, why not Bama? Why would you not go to a place like that enables you to really reach the best of your ability and to win championships along the way?
Well, I said it a couple of days ago when Nick Saban was recognized as the 12th greatest leader in the world, not in the country, but in the world. I said, I don't know if you could buy and pay for the tuition to get the leadership training that you get under a program like the University of Alabama when Nick Saban is here in town.
No, I mean, that's why he's in such a high demand as a public speaker. That's why he's in such high demand on. And you're not even talking about, you said, in the world. We're not talking about, this is not even college football or football in general, or just, this is everybody. The 12th greatest leader in the world. It makes so much sense that a guy like that is the head coach at the University of Alabama, and those two great powers have come together to make the dynasty that they currently have right now. And you're right. I mean, it's not like Nick Saban enjoys sitting down for articles or sitting down for one-on-ones or enjoys, flying to these places and making these appearances. But it's good for Alabama. It's good for the brand. It's good for recruiting. It's good advertising for everything he's trying to do, and that's why he continues to do those things and be kind of illuminated in those spotlights.
Mike, what was your big takeaway from Alabama's A-Day?
There's still a lot of work left to do, Ryan, and I say that as a guy that knows Alabama will be elite. I mean, they're going to be extremely tough to beat. There's talent all over the field. I was happy with the way the secondary came along. I was not exactly happy with what the offensive line product looked like. I've said multiple times that the talent is there on the offensive line. They've got to find the ability to work together. They've got to kind of get entrenched. They looked like a group of five guys that had never played next to each other, and that's exactly kind of what we had. We had guys at new spots. We have guys switching around. We had Lester Cotton at left guard who looked lost at times. Jonah Williams did not look comfortable. Alex Leatherwood didn't look comfortable. I was not exactly happy with the offensive line performance. I thought, some other position groups really showed up. I'm really excited about what our tight ends can do. I'm really excited about what Robinson brings to the group out of that running back committee. So there were some ups and some downs. I'm going to be a tough grader about it, though, and understand this is a national championship caliber team, and anything less than that, in my opinion, is not going to be good enough for this team next year.
So we've criticized the offensive lineman. Now we have an all-American offensive lineman. Why did that offensive line maybe didn't have the performance? I know it was Jonah Williams explained to me, he goes, listen, and he touched me on my shoulder, and he goes, that's a sack. That's a sack. He goes, it's very difficult, and we have to know that going in. But maybe just help us understand why that offensive line did not perform up to the standard that we've come to expect.
Well, it looked like uncomfortability. I think that's the best word I can come up with. Lester Cotton, everything you feel like he does well, you feel like he does it well at right guard. Moving over to the left, didn't look comfortable. Didn't look comfortable playing next to Jonah Williams on the left side. There was a number of twist games, ETs, TEs, that they were not able to pick up that were not good twist games. I mean, they were not upper echelon, these guys are going to get to the quarterback, stunts up front. They were not able to pass off. I think that really a lot of what's going on with this offensive line really focuses on that left guard position. Do you have to move Ross Pierschbaker back? I mean, can you find another center? Does Jonah need to go to center and move Leatherwood back to left tackle and then, Jedrick Wills over to right tackle? You have to find guys that are comfortable next to each other. I think that's one of the great things that we had back when I played ball in 08 and 09. I was sitting there between Andre Smith and Antoine Caldwell in 08. All of us ended up being All-Americans, and we felt comfortable with one another. I could communicate to Andre. Just by tapping Andre on the shoulder, he knew what I was thinking, and I knew what he was thinking. Same thing with Antoine. And those guys, they need repetition, and that's what they're going to get moving forward. They're going to get a ton of it during the summer. They're going to get a ton of it during the fall. I just hope that they find the right combination sooner than later in order to start getting those reps and moving in that direction with each other, because it's got to be a fist, right? It can't be five individual fingers. It's got to be the fist balled up, and that's what you've grown to expect at Alabama.
Mike, I didn't see a lot of excitement on the offensive side of the football. Whether that's fair or not, we always place that at the quarterback position. It didn't seem like he had a lot of confidence in Saturday's game.
Yeah, I got that feeling too, and it's a shame because Jalen, with that performance 2 years ago, this is Jalen busting on the scene, and then even at scrimmages, that performance, man, this Jalen guy can really move. But the quarterback position in Alabama, the ante's been upped. I mean, that's really what it is. You expect more out of that position because what you have in Tua and what you've seen out of Jalen for the last couple of years, and what you feel like the growth should be under a locker room and a coaching staff like Alabama has. You feel like the quarterback should be growing. And so, it goes from Jalen really having the benefit of the doubt as a freshman to starting to question him as a sophomore to now going into his junior year saying, when is that next step coming? And I know that he seemed like he was down on himself a little bit Saturday afterwards. That's just something you haven't seen. He's a prideful guy, always keeps his chin up, but I think that he was really disappointed, probably in the protection he got in front of himself, and at other times probably disappointed with some of the output that he had from the quarterback position.
I was on another show earlier today, and the guy asked me, he said, is Jalen got better? Has he progressed or regressed? And I said, a lot of ways he's regressed because I just don't see – how he was bringing energy to the team and he was jumping around and he'd bring the excitement? I just didn't see that, and it's something that's been missing. But I guess when you get benched in the national championship game, maybe we underevaluated that moment. When Nick Saban pulled him because he had to, that has to yank a lot of that confidence away from a young man.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it goes back to what I was saying. Listen, when he was a freshman and he's kind of taking everybody by storm, and all of a sudden you stick that guy in there and you say, man, no matter what he does as a freshman, we're not going to crush him because we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a freshman. He's a running quarterback. He hasn't developed that arm. Now you fast forward 2 years, and you still have some of the same questions. And it to me, I don't know, maybe it's not regression because I still tend to give him the benefit of the doubt, Ryan, the fact that this is his third offensive coordinator in 3 years. So regression's not the term to me, but there definitely hasn't been much growth. And I think that we saw a Jalen that even when he had the protection there, still couldn't find receivers at times. I know his numbers didn't end up being that bad, but there was a lot of that. I'm going to fall back to what I know and to fall back to what I'm good at, and I'm going to take off with this football. And when you're when the quarterback can't be sacked, when he can't be tackled, that's not the look you're looking for in spring. You want somebody that can stand up in that pocket and deliver the ball. And it was a lot of different things, like Nick Saban said. But I think you can read between Nick Saban's words and saying, I wasn't disappointed in Jalen. Well, that doesn't mean you were happy with him either, and I think that's how most of the Alabama fans feel right now.
Mike, how do you earn confidence with your teammates? How do you get that swagger back?
It's in very small increments. It's not something you can just do overnight. You have to show up and be the leader for these summer workouts, for these 7-on-7 sessions. You have to be number one in line when you're running the 110s in the summer. You have to be the guy that's finishing first across the line, letting them know that no matter what, they can depend on you, that you're an option for them, that you're always going to be around and that you're going to do things to the best of your ability. And it starts with small things like that. How hard are you working in the weight room? Are you showing up on the board? Are you missing classes? Are you getting points against your name? And then it goes to the small drills and the small throws. Hey, this out route right here, I'm going to put this right on his numbers. And little by little, those teammates start to recognize things like that. The offensive line sees, boy, Jalen's in. Let's see what he does with his throw right there. And then all of a sudden he puts one on the numbers downfield to Jerry Jeudy or puts one on the numbers to Henry Ruggs. And all of a sudden he's throwing the ball over the top. And then little by little you can gain that trust back of the offense. But it doesn't just happen overnight. It's going to be something that's a work in progress. And I know Jalen's the type of guy that's going to try with everything he has to get it done.
When Tosh LaPoy took over as an outside linebacker coach, he came on the scene and Alabama's sack production went up. At 52 sacks, they led college football in 2015. Mike, I think it's very easy for us to make an argument with all those sack masters on that defensive side of the football that production may be similar in 2018 with production.
I don't think there's any doubt about it that they're definitely going to push for that number. And what's scary about it to me is on some of those big years of sacks that you have guys in the middle that clog the middle and push the pocket. You have guys that rush the edge and can get around the edge and make the sack. I think we've got pass rushers all across the defensive line this year. I mean, you saw Isaiah Buggs the other day. Everybody knows what Raekwon Davis can do. I mean, Keenan Williams was in the backfield a ton of times. I thought Christian Miller really, really looks like he's up the ante. Same goes for Terrell Lewis. They're all over the place. And now you just got to hope this year that those guys can stay healthy because when you look, I mean, from the left side all the way to the right side, everybody on that starting defensive front, even really back into the two deep, can rush the passer. I think that's what makes it so scary.
Yeah, and looking at Raekwon Davis, final question here. it just looked like he's playing with that confidence, not saying that he's not unblockable, but he's playing with a lot of confidence right now, and I guess maybe that's why that offensive line may have struggled a little bit.
He has such a natural advantage with leverage, Ryan. I mean, I think that's what it is. When you see some of the offensive linemen, that's why you like tall linemen, because they have leverage. They can get separation with their hands. They can, when they lean forward, they are really, really leaning forward. When you're 6'7", you have a guy that's leaning forward and, squats 500, 600 pounds. That guy's going to move you. I mean, there's not much you can do to it. And when you add that in to the ability to move laterally like Raekwon has developed over the last year, it gets frightening. I mean, it gets absolutely frightening as an offensive lineman, because what you're doing is you're dropping back as a guard and you're saying, okay, I definitely don't want him to beat me with the speed rush, or I definitely don't want him to beat me with the power rush. So I'm either going to be light on my toes or I'm going to anchor here. You can't do either one of those with Raekwon right now. I mean, if you try to anchor down, he's going to run you straight over, or he's going to run around you. Same goes with everything vice versa. If you really try to be light on your feet, I mean, he can run right down the middle of you and run you over. So it's a scary thought right now for a lot of people in the SEC, and I'm just glad Alabama's offensive linemen don't have to deal with him come fall time.
MP Johnson 79. Connect with him on the Twitter account. He's a college football analyst at SEC Country. He's co-host of SEC Country Live that airs daily starting at 2 o'clock on the main Facebook account, Monday through Thursday. Mike Johnson, I appreciate you, man, for spending a couple of minutes with us. Certainly we'll enjoy the next couple of days from an NFL draft perspective, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely, and good luck to all those guys over in Tuscaloosa that are going into the NFL draft. It's going to change your life this weekend, Ryan, and as always, roll tide to you, brother.